So the second tip I'm going to give you is how I work with mid-side processing in regard to a Dolby Atmos mix. So this is a way where you can really sort of bring out the kind of atmospheric and immersive content of a stereo track and bring it into the Dolby Atmos world. So generally you'll be receiving stereo stems, and that would generally, and not always, would involve, the sort of lead instrument or the main sort of focus of the energy, the sort of dry instrument would be centered, and the more kind of atmospheric content like reverbs and delays and other effects would be stereo content in that signal. So with mid-side, you can kind of divide the sound up into those two things. So the mid is going to be the kind of, the more dry, focused center stage sound, and the side is going to be the kind of the depth and the reverb and things like that. So the way that I like to exploit this in an Atmos mix is by splitting it up and then having independent control of the mid and the side. So let me just play you the bass line from this track for a little bit. So there's a nice bass synth sound with a nice appropriate reverb on there. So the way that I route this is I've got my original stem channel here is bass full. I've routed that to a bus output, in this case 9 and 10, and then I've got two auxiliary tracks, both with input set to 9 and 10. So they're receiving the exact same signal. And then on each of these I've got a Brainworks BX Control V2 plugin. You can use any plugin that can separate mid and side is fine for this. And on this first one, I'm just soloing the mid channel. So that sounds like this. So that's just a mono signal. And then the side channel, do the same thing there. Is just the side channel soloed in place. So kind of on its own always sounds a bit weird because it's, phase inverted on each side, but together then you get independent control of each of them. And the reason this is such a great thing to do in Atmos is that I can pull that side information back into the room. And it means I don't have to add any new reverb. It's still the same reverb that the producer wanted on that bass. I haven't had to add a new surround reverb or try and match the reverb. I've taken the reverb that they provided and I've just brought it out into the room. And you can choose to leave that on the front wall as well and make an extra copy of it and bring that back, maybe put some up high. So you're then free to use it in the space as you choose, as to whatever's appropriate for that instrument. So now you can see I've got independent control of those, and if I want to give it more kind of Atmos and reverb, then I can pull up the side channel and I'm free to route that wherever I want. In this case, let's just have a look where I ended up placing that. Yeah, so it's kind of mid-height towards the back of the room with a little bit of size. So that bass suddenly surrounds you, but it's also focused on the front. So it's kind of doing a job of keeping it nice and direct whilst giving it an immersive feel.